Hey, this is Harry for the Growby10 channel. Let's keep this party going. It's very likely that if gold goes to, say, $5,000 an ounce, we're going to be in a world where we experience a currency devaluation or collapse, and or at least an environment where it's very, very high inflation. In such an environment, we have to understand that the factors of production, the business of making things, will collapse as well, or at least come to a grinding crawl. Commerce, trade, travel, as we know it, will basically cease to exist. Think about each business that you visit, each different type of item that you buy. Think about the number of people and other businesses that they have to work with, to get the raw materials from their suppliers, produce to make it, to sell it, to ship it, to service it, etc., etc. If the dollar collapses, or if it has collapsed, how will they conduct business? These type of real life scenarios we have to think about, because those questions and the answers that you come up with is going to definitely affect your investment, especially in something like gold. So how can you buy and sell with worthless currency? Basically, you don't, and you'll stop unless there's some sort of like stabilization, and it's worth it for you to go through the pain and the risk of producing, making, hiring the people, all that, unless you're very sure that you're going to get some sort of fair payment or fair deal. In this situation, in this reality, will absolutely cause a greater scarcity in real goods and services almost overnight relative to every other class. Yes, that's relative to also precious metals. And this is a very critical point that I believe we must all understand. Anything that has to be processed, anything that has to be touched by many hands before becoming a final product, on the store shelves or what have you, which is probably 99% of all the stuff out there, will be almost instantly in a far shorter supply, or maybe totally will just be stopped being produced. And all consumable items, practical and life-sustaining products and services, things that everybody need, not just want, like gold, will be in the greatest demand, and of course will be hoarded for personal use and for trade. But I think, and tell me if you think I'm wrong, many will not trade these precious items for gold or silver. And the irony is that the higher the price of gold, the fewer, not more people, will be willing to trade with you, because they'll need, or should I say you'll want them to give you so much more of their goods and their services for the more expensive asset, their gold, your precious metal that you have. They could have 100 cans of beans and you have 1 ounce of gold, and you want, of course you want everything, all that, for that one gold coin. But for them to give you 100 ounces, or I'm sorry, the 100 cans of beans, is a very risky situation in a world where only 1 out of 200 people own gold. So they might offer you 10 or 20 or half, whatever, what have you. But if you're not, if you're not hungry, you're gonna go on to try to get to the next guy, and hopefully you're gonna find somebody that's willing to trade in a metal that's so rare, that so few people have. Do you get what I'm saying? I mean, that's kind of the reason why we don't trade in diamonds, or we don't trade in Rolls Royces, or we don't trade in Mona Lisas, because it's too expensive relative to the other means of trade. When we get to a point where, again, if gold goes to $5,000, it's just way out of whack personally, as in value-wise, compared to the other things. But that's just a dollar amount. But when we go into a hyperinflation situation like this, and we have a great deal of shortages, it's not really the dollar value that matters the most. It's going to be other type of value, and that's what I'm trying to get at here. In a world where only 1 in 200 people will own gold, who will you trade with and what for? That brings me to a very, very important question that a lot of you guys out there could tell me and possibly enlighten me. Can you have an asset? Can you have a currency that less than 1% or half of 1% own, control, and have that be a common currency or a major currency or a common form of trade? Think about it for a moment before you comment, because I think this is really important. Because so few people own it, of course others must establish a trading system without gold, right? That makes sense because no one owns it, so there's going to be other trading system created that does not account for gold. And then imagine that someone steps in with gold that they want to trade. What's going to happen? First of all, you're going to be noticed. You're going to stick out like a golden thumb in the land of the thumbless. Before you get scared like you're the only one with raw meat in a den of wolves, you're going to be thinking the biggest, baddest king of the jungle may have something to do with you before the wolves do, and I'm talking about government. In an environment where the control of money is paramount, if the dollar crashes, there must be a substitute. And anything competing against that substitute or taken away from the control of the government, they're going to find a way to control through taxation or confiscation. Oh no, they can't do that. That's not going to happen. Well, I have a couple things to say to you about that. First is the obvious. They did it once before, and that's when the dollar didn't even crash. And second of all, in a world where the governments would allow, for example, ETFs and the stock market to collapse, and the financial powers that be allow, if you believe that they allow a collapse of a bedrock of business of our Western civilization of money and power, which is the financial markets, do you not think that the powers that control that wouldn't mind taxing the instant rich, meaning you, or even worse, just again taking it? Remember, those of you admittedly will be in a very tiny minority. And what do we see happen to the rich now regarding taxation? You guys already know that even though the smallest portion of the population, they pay like half of all the taxes. If this doesn't change, that means a large percent of your gold and your precious metals is going to flow back up to the government. Okay, there's even more with this scenario I want to go down. I'm a little tired right now, so I'm going to continue this later on. It sounds simple. It sounds like, oh, that it? But please put in your feedback. What's wrong with this logic? How will you, in this worst case scenario, handle this type of situation? And again, I'm not done. There's a lot more. This hole goes a lot deeper than most of you think. But disagree with me is perfectly fine. But please have some arguments. Please have some logic. Please have something to share so we could all benefit from this discussion. Thank you very much, and please stay tuned for my next, I think maybe my last part of this conclusion. Thank you very much. Please rate, please subscribe, and most importantly, comment. Thank you very much. Take care, guys.